If I take 4 to the second power, right, Dylan? That really means 4 times 4, and that means 16. We know that.
Wait, yes,
So second power, the second power, what's another way of saying 4 to the second power? You may
squared.
Squared. Now, why square? Why the word square? You're right. You've been, maybe junior high, you learned that second power means square. Why square? Well, what's going on with square? Why call this 2 a square? Here's why. 2, 3, 4. So this side is 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the matter with me? So when you multiply 4 by 4, think of a quadrilateral 4-sided figure. You now have 16, right? That's why. Multiplying something by itself is creating a quadrilateral, and the area of that quadrilateral becomes that. The area of the square is 16. Now, if I say this, does anybody remember what that means? How to say that? What do you think, De La Rocha?
What?
How do you say that symbol?
Division, no?
Good. This is division. There's a name for that.
Square.
Square?
Square root.
Square root.
There.
So look at the square root is saying, look, hey, the square that had this as a side, the square, what's the root of the square? In other words, what's the side of the square that has that when you squared it? Well, the square root of 4, actually I should have went this way. The square root of 16. Right, so it's saying, hey, the square that had 16 as its area, what's one side? What would be the root of it? That's one side. Well, it's 4. And what ends up happening is, if I take, let's say 2 to the second power, actually let's go 4 to the second power, and the square root of 4, they're kind of like opposites of each other.
2.
Taking the second power and squaring are the opposites. Go ahead, question. It's like the reverse. Like division is the opposite of multiplication, subtraction is the opposite of addition. If I take the second power of something, okay, 4 to the second power is 16. To undo it, I take the square root of 16. That's going to be 4. I'm right back where I started. So squaring and square rooting are opposites of each other. Now, you have your note guide in front of you? Okay. Let me get mine out here. Let's define a couple words first. Let's define a few words. And after this, promise. Give me a few minutes here. I got you. All right. The nth root of A. Okay, here we go. So on your notes, gonna write this down with me. I'll use Dodger Blue since they're gonna win again. Right, Dominguez? All right. The nth root. Put the nth root of a is equal to a to the 1 over nth power. So the nth root of a equals 1 over a to the 1/nth power. And put semicolon. The nth root is the same as taking the base to the 1 over nth power. The nth root is the same as taking the base to the 1 over nth power. So take up as much space as you want, because that no guide is just for you. We'll pause. This symbol right here that we call square root, I just went over a little while ago. Another way to say that is radical. Just another word for radical. It's another word for square root. The index of a radical is, here we go, the small number indicating what kind of root is sought. So for an example, the cube root of 64, that's called the index of the radical. Yes?
How much was write that down?
Either type or write, however you want. It's your notes. Type or write.
Want me to turn it into you?
So scroll all the way to the bottom of the CAMI file, add the blank page, and so go ahead and divide that page in half, like this. There we go. Yes! There's my lines. So divide that page in half. And on the left side, go ahead and put exponent form. And on the right side, put radical form. What I'm going to go over right now is going to make it more clear now in your mind what's going on. Okay. So exponent form. Let's say I had x to the 1/2 power. That looks scary. We have now exponents that are fractions. You gotta be kidding me. That's like time to cry to mommy, or I don't know. Maybe I got the teddy bear in the back and need to have a hug or something. Starting to make you cry. Fractional exponents. I can't believe it. Well, guess what, you guys? All that means,
Wait, buzzer now?
quick! All that means, take the pass. Let's check this out. And it just means this. It just means the square root of x. You guys know how to deal with exponents now. I've given you 7 rules of exponents. Now we're getting into fractional exponents. Quick, little Rocha. All it means is square root of x. Now, when we write square root, and when you're in junior high and elementary, the square root is just like this. There was actually a 2 there. The index was always a 2. It's just you weren't aware of it. We don't bother to write the 2 because that's like the most standard basic square root or radical. It's got the 2. We call it square root. Remember, that means square. Let's draw an arrow. Both sides. The reason why I have an arrow with both sides is because that means that and that means that. They mean the same thing. They're just 2 different ways of writing the same thing. So x to the 1/2 power is really the square root of x. Cool. How about the next one? What did x to the 1/3 power mean? You want to take a stab at it?
Is so would it be instead of 2, 3?
Right, it'd be a cube. We call it the cube root.
Yeah, cube root 2.
Cube root of x, huh? Okay. Let's keep going. X to the 1/4 power. Fourth root of x. Okay? I trust you're starting to see the pattern now. X to the 1/5 power. Give it to me, Diaz. What would it be?
Oh, that's a 5. Oh, 5 root. Well, x to the 5th root.
Fifth root of
5.
x. Fifth root of x.
5th root today. There you go.
Fourth root, fifth root, cube root, square root. You with me, Dominguez? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. X to the 1/6 is the 6th root of x. X to the 1/7 power is the 7th root of x. I'll just go up to 8. X to the 1/8 power is the 8th root of x. Imagine taking the 8th root of something, that's weird. Kind of trippy.
Nowadays, everything can happen. Oh, everything is falling down.
So far, so good?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, the nth root. Find the indicated real nth roots of A. Okay? So A it would be, so when they say A, that's they're asking find the nth root of that number. In other words, if the nth root looks like this, they're asking, look at -125 is going to be that number. So now they're asking then, here A is going to be -400, here A is going to be 64. So here we go. for number 1, they're really asking for what is the cube root of negative 125?
-5.
How'd you get that?
I use my decimals calculator.
Rocking it! In other words, very nice, Ms. Diaz.
It's
So,
up there, mister.
yeah, I just want to show this class. So right here on Desmos, right here I put on C17. Tell me what you press, Ms. Diaz.
You use the n root one,
Look at that! There's an nth root button. You got to be kidding me.
and then you put 3.
Right. So look, it's asking for the index now, and then the number. The number inside, by the way, is called the radicand. Fancy schmancy word. The number inside the radical symbol is a radicand. By the way, I'm using the word radical and square root or root. They're interchangeable. They mean the same thing. So the cube root of negative 125, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Boom! -5. Nice, nice, nice. Hate that thing keeps coming up. So it's going to be negative 120, -5 rather. You with me, Denosha? Which really means this. It means this. Just off. You don't have to write this down, but this. When we say this is -5, what we're saying is, look, if you take -5 to the third power, look at -5 to the third power. That really means -5 times -5 times -5. -5 to the third power. If you multiply this out, it becomes the negative 125. So this is really asking, hey, when we take the cube root of negative 125, what number times itself to the third power becomes negative 125? Well, -5 is. -5 times -5 is positive 25 times the -5 is going to be negative 125. The cube root. Rocking and rolling. Let's go on number 2. So here,
It says undefined.
uh-oh. So this is the second root, which is a square root, right? So we're going to take the square root then, that's your n, the square root of negative 400. The square root of negative 400. So let's go to our calculator. You said it says undefined, huh?
Yes, sir.
Let's see. By the way, if you want the square root, just take the square root button. Because this button right here is automatically an index of 2 to La Rocha. Anything higher, use the nth root, but this is automatically a square root. And I'm going to go negative 400. Piece of garbage. Look what it says, undefined. Why do you think that's the case?
Maybe there's more than one option.
Let's see. This is because here's why it's undefined. Well, before I even tell you that, what do you suppose the square root of negative 400 is undefined? If you take, see, this is really asking, hey, what to the second power is going to be negative 400? What number to the second power is going to be negative 400? On the first example, we knew that -5 to the third power became negative 125. But here, what number to the second power will be negative 400? In other words, what number times itself would become a negative number?
No, 9.
Think about it, huh? Any number times itself will always become positive. There's no number times itself that will ever become negative. If you can find me a number times itself that becomes negative, I will write you a credit slip for my class. You have passed my class with an A plus, 5 credits right now. All right? I have credit slips right there.
Wait, what?
Now he says, oh, what?
No,
He's all
you-
asleep the whole time. What?
You
What?
can find a problem?
No. Find me a number that if you raise it to the second power, it becomes a negative number. You are done with my class today, A plus, 5 credits, and you'll probably be on CNN tonight
See, and
because you're going to be world famous.
it's because there's none.
Right, that's why.
What if I make one though?
Then you gonna be the next. What's his name?
So what if you make a number? Wow, that
I'll
sounds
make a
exciting.
number.
Delucha.
I'll make a number.
You're going to be on CNN tonight. Hey,
We
Mr. De
find
La Rocha
him.
from Pomona, California has manufactured a brand new number that no one has ever encountered. I can't wait, man. This is going to be fun.
Just don't forget us when you're famous.
Say again. What happened?
Don't forget us when he's famous.
Don't forget me, man. Come on. So all that to say, any number times itself is going to be a positive number. Like say -2 times -2. It's positive 4. 2 times 2 is positive 4. So that's why it's undefined. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Let's go on to the next one. The 6th root. Yikes. So here the n is the index of the root. So the 6th root of 64. That's crazy.
It's 2.
What number times itself times itself times itself times itself times itself times itself, that's 6 times, becomes 64. Diaz used the way of wisdom and she just used her calculator. If you want to try to do that in your mind, go for it. Or you can use the tools that
Are given.
are given and are created by our awesome minds.
Work smarter, not harder.
Thank you. Well said, well said. So the nth root in this case, here's the nth. The index is 6. Right, De La Rocha?
Yeah.
And then, what was the number again?
64.
Thank you. Easy sleazy, you guys. Come on. 2. Very nice. It's not that hard, you guys. The reason why it's 2 is because 2 times 2 equals 64. In other words, 2 to the 6th power equals 64. All right, all right. So